My goodness, is Cade Cunningham on a crazy roll right now. He had 26 points and 11 assists last night. In his last 6 games, he's averaging 29 points and 11 assists per game. His fourth quarter run against Philly down the stretch of that game was a damn highlight reel. He had this spin move against Kelly Oubre. It was ridiculous. He's right at the kind of foul line area, and he wants to set up the spin, so he sets it up with like a right to left cross. And then on the right to left cross, right when the ball hits his left hand, he just whips over his left shoulder in a spin move, just toasts Kelly, goes right down the lane and just hits like a right-handed, like scooping hook shot in the lane. Just an unbelievable highlight. And then he starts to kind of cook the Sixers in like basic pick and roll 2-on-2 scoring. So like getting over the top of the screen, having the defender pinned on his backside. He kind of like works into the lane and finds a little angle for a right-handed bank shot over Andre Drummond. Similarly, same sort of thing off the left side. Gets the defender trapped on his backside. Jalen Duren kind of clears a little bit of space in the lane as he's rolling, and he finds a little angle for a left-handed bank shot off the glass. And so as a result, as he's just cooking, Philly ends up having no choice but to just blitz Cade all over the floor, and at some point sending straight up double teams even without a screen. And that was just the damage that Cade was doing, which was breaking Philly's defense. And then honestly, like what was really impressive was a lot of times you'll see guys when the double teams start to come and the blitzes start to come, they'll just stop being aggressive. They'll be like, oh, I've done my job. I'm bringing the second defender, just going to get rid of the ball and play basketball. But he found 2 opportunities to score against double teams late in the game that were both really impressive. One where he's targeting Tyrese Maxey, calls for a ball screen on the right side. Tyrese goes to the right side like he's going to go ahead and offer that blitz as Cade comes off the screen. And all Cade does is just cross over right to left away from the double team and goes down the lane and just dunks all over Andre Drummond's face. Then there's another one late in the game where they bring a double team, just a straight up double team. This one was poorly executed by Philly. Cade standing up, like left wing extended like 40 feet from the basket. Kelly Oubre's shading him towards his left hand. So he's like taking away his right hand, leaving that left-handed drive open. And Quentin Grimes brings the double team from that right-hand side from Cade. So essentially, Kelly's already taking away the right hand, and yet you're bringing the double to the right hand. And so Cade's like, all right, thanks, guys. Just drives to the left, goes right by Kelly, gets way down into the teeth of the defense. Obviously, the help is there. Just pounds a dribble over his left shoulder and hits a little short left shoulder fadeaway in the lane that basically ices the game. So torches the team into double teaming him, scores against the double team twice, makes a bunch of quality plays out of the double teams that led to closeout opportunities for guys like Asar Thompson and Ron Holland, who both, by the way, credit to those guys, they each hit massive mid-range pull-up jump shots in crunch time that helped close the deal for them. But like Cade was just fantastic down the stretch. And here's where I want to call attention to the luxury of having a guy like Cade in a way that you wouldn't think. So like, I know that the Cade-Luka comparisons have been done to death. And I don't want to overly retread that ground here. But one of the things I've noticed with Luka over the years is he's so good on offense that it gives the coaching staff flexibility to surround him with defensive players that have offensive limitations. Because on the one hand, they have the ability to score in precarious situations when multiple defenders are involved, which is what you're going to face when you have limited offensive players around you. Guys are going to leave their men to come help, right? And then the second piece of it is because of the advantages that they create, even the limited offensive players can have more success than you think because of like having a closeout. For instance, the Ron Holland little pull-up jumper he hits that driving a closeout. It's not a jumper that he is going to hit as efficiently if he's facing a squared up defender, right? That's the advantage. And down the stretch of this game, Detroit was able to go with a lineup that had Asar Thompson, Ron Holland, and Javonte Green on the floor. That's a really difficult group of guards and wings to score against. Now, typically in lineup construction, you'd be worried about their ability to score, but Cade finds a way to score with that group, which then gives you the ability to play them all together on defense. And that trio of players in 88 possessions this year, according to Cleaning the Glass, has logged a 101 defensive rating, which is like off the charts good. And they did a number on the Sixers down the stretch of this game. Everything was super tough for Tyrese Maxey. He had 33 points. He was 10 for 26 from the field. And look, he's an unbelievable player. He's going to make some unbelievable plays. He's going to get downhill. He hit a ridiculous step back three over Javonte Green on the left wing. That was nasty down the stretch of this game. But you made him work hard, and he had several big misses late. And a big part of that was Detroit's guards starting to win some of those battles, starting to win that like point of attack battle so that the chest is squared up, walling up, so that some of these floaters that Tyrese is taking are not open floaters, but are contested floaters, which is what's going to play him into misses more frequently. Karis LeVert had a big possession in the second half where he slid his feet, stayed in front. Instead of it being an open floater, it was a contested floater. By the way, Karis had a really nice game off the bench, looking more like the guy that I hoped he would be for Detroit. Javonte Green had a similar rep in crunch time where he slid his feet and walled up, kept his chest in front of Tyrese, and Tyrese missed the floater. As we talk about, Tyrese is going to make some of those. He's going to hit half of his floaters, maybe a little bit more. But like, if you're going to play him into more of the miss side of that spectrum, it's going to be something under your control in the form of whether or not you're positioning yourself between him and the rim and making it into a more difficult shot. We've spent a lot of time this year talking about how physical and strong Detroit is on the front line. And they certainly are. Jalen Duren was amazing again last night, continuing his monster start to the year. The two big lineup is something they've gone to this year and had success with. But they also just have an excellent core of perimeter defenders. And when you've got that combination, when you've got your front court playing the way that they're playing, as big and physical as they are, as resilient as they are to bully ball players, but then you also have the speed on the perimeter to hang with the fastest guards in the league, it just comes together to make a very strong defensive foundation. And when you anchor it on the other end of the floor with a transcendently great offensive player in Cade Cunningham, that is just a proven formula in the NBA. And for all the talk about Cade on offense, again, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the little bits of offensive contribution down the line. Karis LeVert hitting the threes. Duncan Robinson hits a big three in the second half. Ron Holland and Asar Thompson hit those little mid-range jump shots. Jalen Duren doing work on the offensive glass. They're just getting enough contributions down the line. Big win for Detroit on the road. Up to 8-2 on the season. Sole possession of the 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. Third best defense in the NBA in the early going. The offense is starting to come around. Help will be on the way at some point this season in the form of either Jaden Ivey or a trade. It's a lot to be excited about if you're a Detroit Pistons fan. Couple of notes on the Sixers. Wasn't all bad this weekend. They got a nice win against Toronto on Saturday night, who's feisty. VJ Edgecombe continued his ascent in that game with 2 massive crunch time baskets. He drove a closeout out of the left corner in crunch time where he caught on the move and jabbed going left and somehow changed direction at full speed back towards the middle and hit like a shot in the lane. That was like an absurdly athletic play. Hit one of those patented little mid-range pull-ups, one of the ones I've been talking about as like his ability to get to his spots because of his athleticism. But we did see some of the team's personnel limitations in the Detroit game. The first piece is that they're small. There were several sequences late in the game where their best lineup, because it has 3 guards, they'd end up with a guard in help side. Drummond would get pulled out of the paint for one reason or another. Kelly Oubre's guarding the ball. So you'd end up having somebody who's like 6'3" or shorter, 6'4" or shorter helping at the rim. And that's just a difficult job for a help side defender who's giving up that much size. And all I kept thinking about as I was watching is like, I think it's silly to pretend that this team couldn't use a guy like Paul George. Like there was a pretty rough Jabari Walker shift there in the second half. And all I could think was, yeah, let's give those minutes to Paul George and let's see what happens. I mean, we'll see if Paul George ever plays basketball again, but if he's healthy and he's able to play, he's going to help them because there are some rotation minutes going to guys that Paul's just a better basketball player than. And also, I thought that was the type of the game where Joel Embiid could have been of big service. And of course, it was a back-to-back, so he wasn't playing, and we'll see if he ends up playing in the big picture. But if you look at Philly in terms of whether or not they're any sort of playoff threat, you run into teams that are super athletic on the perimeter, and it makes life harder on Tyrese Maxey. That's not to say that he can't still generate offense, but it's just harder for him. He has to work harder to try to score against the elite athletes every time down the floor. And all I could think of is like Joel Embiid is the release valve there. He's a guy that you'd be able to give the ball to against a smaller, quicker team and be able to generate some quality shots. I'd argue Paul George helps with that too. Like Kelly Oubre, who's had some good offensive moments to start the season, and there have been some plays where he's gotten downhill and hit those little short floaters and short jump shots and has helped the team offensively. But he had a really bad stretch offensively down the stretch of this game, missing clean looks from three, missing shots near the basket. That's usage that can go to better offensive players when they're actually healthy and put together. Sixers starting to lose some ground. They've lost 4 out of 6, and the defense has been brutal over the course of that stretch.